Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning on the east side of the map, playing in purple, we've got Crackedyhere playing as the Japanese, and his opponent in the southwest playing in orange. We've got Core playing as the Holy Roman Empire. Welcome everyone to Cliffside. That's the map for today, and well, two civilizations which they're pretty strong. I mean, HRE, we know them. We know them well with the prelate buffering up these villages by 40%. We know them with their emergency repairs. We know them with their fast castle. We shall see if Core decides to go for a fast castle today on Cliffside. Crackedyhere playing as the Japanese. A very nice civilization as part of the Sultan's Ascend DLC, of course. And I feel like the Japanese have a lot of options available to them just as a general civ on their own. Obviously, you have to take in the context of the map and the civ they're going up against, but they're a civilization that can do many wonderful things. They can go for a second town centre. It's quite a nice play. They can go for a fast castle themselves, which is a decent play. They can go for lots of different things. Lots of things with farms. And you know, guys, how I feel about farms. It's an incredibly strong aspect of the Japanese gameplay, especially when they upgrade the town centre with the Daimyo Manor, Daimyo Palace. We shall see if that's something that Crackedyhere decides to do today. Now, speaking about what to decide to do, it feels like the Holy Roman Empire is one of those civilizations that often dictate the terms of the engagement, terms of the fight, terms of the game, where they decide that, you know, they want to do what they want to do. Generally what they want to do is go to that castle age. They want those relics with the Regent's Cathedral. There are a couple of other cheesy, tricky builds with the, you know, the Burggraf Palace, those kind of shenanigans. I don't think we'll see them. It's unlikely for Core, but we'll see whether he tries anything crazy and funky. But when you factor in a fast castle, potentially for the Holy Roman Empire, it becomes scary for the Japanese. Now, they do have the Cura Storehouse, which is, I think, a really nice landmark to help with that castle age. You might be wondering, well, how does it help you with the castle age? Well, I guess it helps you if you get very few sheep, which, to be fair, Crackedy's getting a few of them. We're getting that nice farming transition very cheap. And it's actually in a really nice spot here for Crackedy, because it's actually going to be acting as a drop-off point for the berries. So he'll be able to protect the berries in some ways, and also get the farming transition around the town centre and the Cura Storehouse, of course. The Archon Chapel, it's an obvious decision there for the HRE. No real reason not to get that. I think it's very obvious what the HRE are going to do, and it's going to come down to Crackedy thinking about trying to deny those relics. Now, one really nice way to do that is to wall up those relics. Of course, he's going to need to scout out what's happening, because, hey, you can't take it for granted, of course, that the HRE are going to go for a fast castle. It's one of the popular things for them to do, but they could equally go for other strategies too. Two town centers is an option. Used to do that a lot in the previous patches. Not so much anymore, but something that they used to do. Now, the Japanese going to be getting Tawara, the baby upgrade, or the baby wheelbarrow upgrade, I like to call it. And I think this is one of the things that is really nice for the Japanese, because if you're trying to go up against the HRE as of them going fast castle, you need that food income pretty quickly. You're matching up against a civilization that gets a 40% gather bonus, right? It's an uphill balance. Like, it's very difficult to do. So the fact that he's going to get Tawara and be able to get those berries pretty nicely and quickly will at least help a little bit with that deficit of gather rate. Now with 3 villages on gold, gold should be coming in pretty nicely. And I do love the spot for the Archon Chapel, by the way. Again, it acts as a nice drop-off point for the berry bushes and for the wood. It means he saves the wood for other things. Now, speaking about saving wood for other things, the Cura Storehouse is going to be spawning those farms. And it means it saves the wood for those farms. Instead of getting farms, or getting his own farms, he can just get those production buildings instead with that wood. Does have plenty of sheep though, which is really nice there for Crackedy. Now bear in mind, wait, did he go for 2? Yeah, okay. This is something I've seen Core do quite often recently. Go for 2 scouts to be able to gather as much sheep as possible. And whilst it does give you more scouting information, more importantly, it gathers more sheep. And that's a lot of sheep. So probably just as well that the Japanese have the Cura Storehouse. Okay, opening up with the stable here with quite a few villages there. 5 villages. So it looks like it's going to be the Bannerman build. We'll be getting Daimyo Manor already. And there it is. There's the Umma Bannerman. Now the early Daimyo Manor as well is going to be increasing that gather rate by 25% on the farms. It's a really nice upgrade to get this early. Ooh, what's going on here? Going to try and get an outpost on the gold. It's trying to take advantage of the fact that the gold is forward. And going to be sending 2 villagers and some spearmen and archers. In fact, maybe it's not a fast castle. It's going to be a feudal aggression. Alright, well there you go. That's the importance of scouting. It's the reason why you got to see what's happening. There's something that he will see, especially with the Bannerman. There is a spearman though, so you've got to be careful. I mean, we'll take out the spearman in the end, of course. And the Bannerman does have a shield, so it does negate the first melee or ranged attack. It does take out the spearman, but he's got to be careful in case there's another spearman on the way. Villagers head back, and that's so important to get that early unit. That one unit gets so much value. Killed a spearman, killed an archer, and more importantly, it pushed those villagers away. And that was going to allow Crackedy maybe to itch towards that castle age himself, going for a couple more villages on stone. Bear in mind, the Japanese, when they gather stone, for every 10 stone they gather, they get 2 gold, and vice versa. For every 10 gold they gather, they get 2 stone. So maybe thinking about getting the diamond. I mean, wait, is he going for a second town center? Doesn't seem like it. Maybe he's looking to get arrow slits, but he's got plenty of stone for that. Maybe he's going for the Daimyo Palace, which is an interesting choice. You will get a free villager, which certainly helps. Trying to get the walls up, spearmen, they're going to get in that position. Backs away with the villager for sure. Right thing to do. I think he needs to drop an outpost there, Crackedy. He's going to find it difficult to defend this position increasingly, and not having access to the gold here is a bit of a problem. Horseman needs to back away. He does. Bannerman's still alive. Might take the engagement here. Spearman does get a couple of hits on the horseman. And it's lovely having those spearmen here for core, I've got to say. Maybe he needs to get some archers, Yumi Ashigaru. Will he drop an archery range? That's the question. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it is going to be. So maybe it's not a full Castle Age battle. It's spiced up a little bit, this matchup. You'll love to see it. Double barracks coming out for the Holy Roman Empire. Now, bear in mind, they do get access to man-at-arms, and the Japanese do get access to samurai. So will we see the clanging of those swords? We'll have to see. Oh, going to dive on those villages and gold. Have to back away there, Core. I think he might get a sniper. No, just about. I mean, if he commits, he will. He commits. Yeah, he will get one at least. He does back away. He does lose the bannerman in the end, and villagers off of gold. They've been pushed, and we dive a little bit too close to the town centre. It loses. Oh, I mean, loses almost everything. Retreats with 1 spearman, and he will look to get that outpost in the end. Will he pull villagers here, Crackedy? How does he address this? How does he deal with it? He's going to pull villagers. He deletes the tower. Can he get a couple of hits on the villagers? Overall, it's going to keep a bit of villagers idle there for the Byzantines, but of course, Court having to head back again, once again, with 2 villagers. That's a lot of walking time. Bear in mind, now the player have wheelbarrow. Taking to a stable. Really going crazy feudal age, these guys. They really want to put some pressure. Yumi Ashigaru out there for the Japanese. Now, overall, I think this matchup is not necessarily terrible for the Holy Roman Empire to go pretty heavy feudal age, although looking at the resources now, it does look like he's itching towards that castle age. He's not too far off it in terms of gold, at least. Now, I wonder, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to go for Burgrove Palace. It's got to be the Regent's Cathedral. It's got 3 barracks already. Getting a blacksmith too. It's kind of crazy how he's producing all of this and still get itching towards that castle age. I think it's actually a really nice play because it's forcing Crackedy into feudal age pressure or feudal age units. And it hurts him more than it hurts the HRE. The stronger economy for the HRE at this point will help him not only produce units but also edge towards that castle age. Quite a few spearmen, they're going to chase down the Yumi Ashigaru. 1 horseman will be more than enough. And I got to say, I like that play. I like it a lot. Does have farms though, so the eco definitely not going to be too far behind for Crackedy and the Japanese. And of course he will clear this up in the end. So I hope you guys have been enjoying the content if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for stopping by and hopping around as always. YouTube's gone really well for me this year, and we're heading into 2024. Probably by the time I post this, to be fair, it's going to be way beyond New Year's, but I hope you had a good one. And yeah, I mean, I hope you guys have been enjoying the content recently. Certainly going to be coming a lot more casted games focused. Obviously, I do have some build orders as well, but it's going to be very much focused on casting games for 2024. Hopefully, you'll be enjoying the content in 2024 as well. Crackedy. Going to be pushing this back with a couple of Yumi Ashigaru, but he probably doesn't want to overextend himself too much, of course, because with archers and infantry, you always got to be careful not to expose yourself with short numbers. If you take one bad fight, then it's going to start to snowball. Now, speaking about snowballing, the Regent's Cathedral, Castle Age coming in for the HRE and quite possibly going to be looking to get some relics shortly. Something that Crackedy needs to address. We can see this number of villages on gold now. Itching to get that castle age. And it's going to go up with the floating gate landmark. We'll be having access to the Yorishi rock, which will be able to deposit it in various buildings. Going to be increasing the villager production speed by 25% if he so wishes to put it in the town center. You can gather food if he drops it in a mill or I should say a farmhouse. Gets wood if you drop it in a lumber camp. Gets gold if you drop it in a forge. We'll have to see what the Japanese decide to do. Now he's going to be moving out with spearmen because he wants to try and deny those relics being brought in. And see the prelate already heading northwards with 2 horsemen as well and looking to snag the first one. Has already got 1 in his clutches, by the way. And maybe some more. Unit numbers looking healthy for HRE. This could be a bit scary if Crackedy loses the lion's share of relics. Or he snipes out 1 prelate, but it's going to be more of a delaying thing rather than denying, because it should be a relic that the prelate brings in, or another prelate brings in pretty shortly. Yeah, but it's very close to home now. Wallow comes off. Will he get it? Wait, Osmond does get out. I think he gets the spearman. Gets the spearman at least, and there's a good pick off there by Core. Gets the Wallow. And 1 relic. I think that was a Yorisha actually deposited that. Does deposit in the town center, so we'll get that 25% increased production speed. That will actually scale the economy quite nicely. He's going to need it against the HRE, I've got to say. He's going to need it. Oh, this is what we talked about earlier. Getting caught like this is rough. But he does have a spearman, so it should be okay. He snipes out the prelate. I think he's got more than enough to deal with this cracker. Yeah, definitely has. And snipes out the 2 horsemen. Good denial of the relics there. But he's going to need to do it a bit more. A lot of barracks being produced. Now, this could actually either go for samurai, possibly on a bugeisha. We have to see what he decides to do. Getting an outpost. Core looking to just protect that wood line, understandably so. Taking into the knights. Spearmen could come out soon for the Japanese. Now, bear in mind with the Nagayari, I think that's the upgrade that they get in the next stage. It can be very scary to deal with, or the Imperial age rather. So whilst he's getting some knights now, it probably won't be a long-term solution. The north. Getting one of those relics in the north, and it's getting a dachi for the samurai. 3 relics so far coming in for the HRE. Yeah, it's definitely getting the heavy focus on samurai at this point. Which is an interesting choice going up against the HRE Knights. When is the next Yorisha coming out? Pretty soon. There it is. Where's he going to put it? We'll have to see. Now, bear in mind you can actually shift queue the floating gate. Looks like he's going to go for the forge. Picking up 1 relic, Crackedy. So at least denies 1 off the map, and the other relic, whereabouts is it? Where can we see it? It's in the north, so it should be Crackedy's here, this one. So 3 relics in for the HRE. Overall, a pretty decent haul, I gotta say. It's a pretty decent number for the HRE. Starting to push forward here, Crackedy. Maybe poking and prodding, getting a couple of mounted samurai as well, and really focusing on the heavily armored units. Now, we talked about how the Japanese, or rather the HRE, were necessarily one of the civilizations that kind of dictates the terms of the fight. Well, it almost looked like Core was playing a little bit more passively. Keeping his army, mostly infantry by the way, man-at-arms and spearmen. Just wonder whether there'll be a lot more mounted samurai on the field soon. For the Japanese. Only got 1 stable so far, so probably unlikely with this number of barracks being produced. Holy moly, that's a lot of barracks. 4 of them. Oh, a couple of these knights here on the berries. That's a bit unfortunate for Crackedy. He didn't keep that area protected. And he's going to pay the price for it. Should lose about 2 to 3 villagers in total. Bear in mind, I can't even garrison inside the Court Cura storehouse. There's only 4 slots inside. They have been full. Has been filled. And does lose another villager. Good sniping there by Core. Good bit of raiding and forces the Japanese to stay at home. Iron Undermesh comes in for Crackedy. And what we see in terms of production here for AHRE. Actually getting a crossbow, incidentally. He's a bit worried about the samurai. Understandably so. Now, I do love this composition, by the way. The onna bugeisha and samurai together, they really fight well in melee fights. Primarily because the onna bugeisha, they kind of, well, they fight over the shoulders of the samurai. Knights have to back away there for court. Slowly but surely, both players are scaling up their economy. We do see the Daimyo Palace, by the way, so 50% extra gather rate on these farms. Incredibly strong. Now, with the gold income coming in for the HRE, not necessarily the next 5-10 minutes, but if Crackedy doesn't put any sort of pressure coming on, you might start to consider going for an Imperial Age. A Palace of Swabia play with some cannon emplacements inside the outposts can be very oppressive by the HRE. Looking to get some of the sacred sites now here, Crackedy. It's always an option that the HRE have up their sleeves to really scale their economy quite nicely. Can be a bit greedy at times, but with cannon emplacements, it can be made to work. In fact, he's going to go for a second town centre on the golden berries, which is a nice, it's a nice option. We are scaling the economy that way. Does potentially invite Crackedy to go for an Imperial Age, of course. Won't have that amazing discount that the HRE do get. Of course, spotting the villagers there in gold. We're getting to the stage of the game where the primary gold veins are starting to expire, right? So the expansions are being forced, and the expansions often have to be forced into the middle. You can see Crackedy trying to get hold of that middle. Does have 2 sacred sites, by the way. I would love to see a prelate come out here. It's often overlooked and sometimes missed by players not to get a prelate where the extra expansions are, and it makes a big difference. Farming transition continues there for the Japanese. Some of the best farms you'll ever see in Age of Empires 4. Going down the south, looking to challenge that sacred site. Here's a win condition potential here for Crackedy, but of course it's not going to be a win condition for 2. Well, this is actually kind of bad for Core. He might lose his second town expansion. Especially since it's just come up. Might be the worst possible time to lose it. Yumi Ashigaru is focusing on the spearmen. The samurai are going to engage. A couple of crossbows on the back line. Does have a couple of those prelates healing up. And he also have the... does he have the warrior upgrade? He does actually have it. He does have inspired warriors. So this is going to be... I mean, the thing is, Core doesn't have enough numbers. The Japanese starting to overwhelm and swarm. That's a lot of infantry. The onna bugeisha really changing the fight. Look at that, fighting with the extra range and absolutely decimating those units. And just not enough crossbows there by Core. Great fight there by Crackedy. He's going to deny that second town expansion, which only just went up, which is pretty rough there for Core for sure. Bear in mind with 2 sacred sites and 2 relics, gold trickling in for Crackedy. 2,800. He might just need to drop a mark here and just balance that economy, because he's also got the Yorishiro, 2 of them inside the forge. Gold income. It's pretty heavy here for the Japanese. Surprisingly enough, he's got 28 villages on gold. What? Wait, what? Why has he got so many villages on gold? Holy moly. Crackedy. He's feeling gold hungry today. Couple of knights diving on that wood line. Needs to be careful, Crackedy. A lot of his army's on the front lines, and well, he's going to get a couple of spearmen here now, which is certainly helpful. Going to relocate that wood line. Oh no, the spearmen are going the wrong way. They need to come back down the west way. The knights aren't heading there anyway, to be fair. So it's okay for now. Moving down the west side and see if he can get some eco damage. There's not a lot here to hit, to be fair. A couple of villages and berries. Actually, that's quite a lot to hit. I wasn't expecting to see these villages here, but they are. That's an issue for Core. And slowly but surely on cliffside, he's starting to wall up Crackedy. Maybe giving to us that sort of mid to late game. Taking the engagement. I think he kind of has to at this point with the knight there, but they might just turn around and fight and take out the knight and then back away. I think with marching drills, it's certainly going to help these infantry units catch up. I think he has to fight. Just take the best possible trade. I mean, the onna bugeisha will probably have to run away with it. Not sure the samurai would. Starting to mass up again on the front. Yeah, I think he might need to turn around and fight here. Loses the bannerman. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is... He's moving out of the aura as well, so even if he does fight now, it's going to take a worse trade than it possibly could have been. He's going to try and retreat and buy as much time as possible. But that doesn't look like it's going to end up favourable there for the Japanese. Loses the sacred site in the north, and I believe we just heard another... Was that another relic or another Yorishiro? It was another Yorishiro. Coming up on the gold again. Crackedy. We need to talk, man. He loves gold today. Palace of Swabia. There's that play by Core. So whilst he did lose the second town centre, it possibly doesn't matter as much as it possibly could have. He's taking up to the Imperial Age, and he needs to buy time though, because it's a large army coming from Crackedy. The concern for the HRE... Oh wait, this is not walled. He needs to wall this up. He needs to buy as much time as possible. I mean, the thing is, doing this against the Japanese, I think the Japanese is probably one of the most dangerous civilizations to do against, because sure, you get cannon emplacements inside your outposts. If there's one thing that the Japanese do, though, they spam out units quickly, and they can just overwhelm. Yeah, a message in the chat, listen to your advice, God wins games. Yeah, exactly. Just to let you guys know on YouTube, if you're watching this later, I'm streaming live these days on Twitch a lot of the time. So if you want to drop in and say hi live, you're more than welcome to. I'll leave a link in the video description so you know where to go. But yeah, I do often say that gold wins games, and Crackedy, yeah, he's going a bit overboard in that one. But the Imperial Age now, look at that, Crackedy always is pretty much instantly reacting. He's being aggressive. It kind of makes sense because he wants to do as much damage as possible before those elite upgrades come in. It's very important to do that. If you can whittle down the numbers here for the HRE, then it makes the Imperial Age tech up a little bit less relevant, or a little less much of a power spike. But yeah, that's probably not enough here. Crackedy backing away for now. And maybe he needs to go to the Imperial Age himself. He is. He got a market. He bought himself there, and he's going to go up with a Tanegashima gunsmith and going to get 15 villages to do so. This is where things get exciting. The reason why I say that is because of the threat of the ozutsu. Really strong unit, and has been nerfed recently in terms of armor, but I gotta say, in a good number of them, it's so dangerous. The splash damage, you keep them alive, have a strong meat shield in front of you. It's a force to be reckoned with, and speaking of meat shield, what better than samurai? Out in the gold on the east, villagers coming out quick time from the Palace of Swabia. Don't forget, not only is it giving you a cheaper tech up to the Imperial Age by 20%, but it's going to produce villagers 200% faster and at 66% less cost. And there's that Imperial Age coming in now for Crackedy. He wants those upgrades coming in soon. Going to get the elite upgrade first. And I believe we saw Adachi coming in earlier. He does have Adachi indeed. And this is actually an interesting situation where in Age of Empires there are a couple of civilizations that force you to do certain things. And I feel like the Japanese force enemies away from cavalry because of their spearmen that always have the threat of the Nagayari. The Nagayari is so strong in terms of going up against cavalry with their spearmen. Makes their weapon range increase by 20% and damage against cavalry by 20%. And it makes the HRE do something that's not too familiar for them. To go for crossbows. They're usually the ones with knights and man-at-arms. Instead it's Japanese, dictating the army composition, moving further forward with the samurai, but he's waiting for the upgrades first. Getting roller shot. Is that roller shot triggered? No, in fact, that's going to be the Yaki. So it's going to be increasing the melee damage of all non-siege units. Something that it's the last. Is that the last upgrade? Yeah, it is the last upgrade for the melee attack. The Japanese get 4, of course, instead of the usual 3. Going further forward with the man-at-arms and a couple of those crossbows. Now, it does have heavy maces, the HRE, which should trade decently against the samurai, but they was also in the back line getting splash damage. This is a fight that I think that the Japanese just straight up win. Especially because the elite upgrade's not in yet for the man-at-arms. It's actually going to be Imperial Age samurai versus Castle Age man-at-arms, and that's not a fight that the HRE can win. He's holding away for now, Crackedy. Mounting response, and the big concern for the HRE in the next 5-10 minutes is how does he deal with the mass of the ozutsu? That is a big concern, and that farming transition though is pretty far forward, and that's possibly a spot that could be exposed to being attacked pretty quickly here. Looking to decap that sacred site. Ozutsu again starting to pick off those units quite nicely. Samurai picking away the crossbow. I think it's a wayward rally point here ultimately for Core. Needs to change that. It's getting a university for those all-important upgrades. Did have a Shinto priest, but isn't able to get the sacred site in the end. Possibly could be looking to get the one in the middle instead. Palace of Swabia does mean the village count really starting to skyrocket for the HRE. It's kind of a scary situation for the Japanese. I mean, there is a window. There's definitely some windows here. Japanese might need to put some pressure in the next 5-10 minutes. If not, that eco will scale very nicely for the HRE, and then there might be a bit of a pushback with that eco fueling up units. Then it'll be Crackedyhere's time to defend to get to the late game. Now bear in mind, the late game for the Japanese isn't too terrible, I gotta say. Especially if you have the Shogunate Castle, which he does now have. Because these farms will be having a 75% gather rate bonus. Which of course is way beyond what the prelate can give you with the farms for the HRE. Does have a culverin and a mangonel. Decent infantry mass on the front line. I wonder if there's going to be a siege coming out for Crackedy. I mean, I guess he's going to just rely on ozutsu at this point. Alright, might be pushing in soon. But core running up to 100 villagers versus 77, and it's getting to that moment of the time of the game where the Japanese don't pressurize soon. The villager count could start to get a little bit scary for the HRE. It is starting to translate into military as well. 65 to 53. And he does have a bit of control of the gold in the north. I've got to say though, the interesting situation in this game where both players are going to be forced to fight it out in the middle. Because both players are going to want to have access to gold. I got to say the Japanese are a little bit less reliant on it. Because he does have 2 relics and he's got plenty of gold coming in from the Yorishiro inside those forges. Big concern for HRE is how does he deal with the ozutsu? It's got to be mangonels. Oh, I just wonder whether we'll start to see a siege workshop for the Japanese or not. Or will he just go full melee? Now, whilst it might seem a little bit boring now with not much happening, I can tell you now that it's going to heat up very soon. It's probably going to be one big fight to decide the game, almost. We sometimes see this happen in Age of Empires where it's a bit of a calm before the storm. Get the feeling that storm is coming soon. Wait. A couple of man-at-arms should be able to break through it. Wait, is this enough? Is it? Yeah, it does go through and... Well, that's a bit of a problem. Crackedy, you might have to send some units back. And, well, Core, he says, well, if you have to send units back, I'm going to push on the front line. There's a couple of landscknechte, but... That's going to push back. 2 mangonels waiting though, looking to bait him in. Will the Japanese take the bait? Quite possibly. Mangonel deploys. He's going to take out a bit of the front line with that. And he can't get close. I think Crackedy needs to find a way to deal with the mangonels. Maybe, yeah, Springles is the option, natural choice. He will clear this up in the end. Although will he actually? This is mass onna bugeisha. I mean, he eventually clears it up. But not without casualties on the front lines. Oh, mangonels. Oh, they got caught there by Core. He sent them a little bit too far forward. The ozutsu might snipe out the other on the retreat, and if he does that, oh, that's a big pick off. Not to be underestimated. Now the units can just roam free, push forward. The samurai can attack on the front lines. If he can take out the landscknechte, that's probably the biggest threat that he has here, the HRE. But if those go down, then the ozutsu are going to rip through everything else. And well, they're like glass cannons, those landscknechte, and they have been cracked. That glass cannon has been taken apart, and while the samurai are going to get a massive push here. Core, he has to back away. He's 73 military, 79 military versus 38. Core is going to lose the bombard, maybe? No, yeah, he does lose it in the end. That's a massive push. Core lost all his siege, and it came down to losing those mangonels. They were caught out of position, and Kind of crazy how one misclick, one mismaneuver can change the game. That's a lot of ozutsu. They take out that outpost, which has been fortified, which did have a relic. They took it out in a blink of an eye, and this unit is looking so strong. Even with the recent nerfs and the recent patches, the ozutsu starting to dictate this fight massively. On a bugeisha, picking up the infantry units, and well, samurai, they're going to be walking in. Now, short core is going to get some value on this side, but it's not going to be enough. And there it is then, gentlemen. It did come to one big fight. It came down to one big push, and it came down to taking those 2 mangonels. And the Japanese, they have taken out the HRE on cliffside.